After the college entrance exam, my childhood sweetheart Aiko was decisively dumped by a poor student. Everyone present felt sorry for her, but instead of getting angry, she looked relaxed and said, "At worst, I'll just marry someone rich. Anyway, I was planning to go abroad with Kenji. This just means I can wrap up the fun and focus." The crowd suddenly understood and rushed to congratulate me for finally getting what I wanted. After all, I'd been her simp since childhood. Getting this reply made me so happy I almost went crazy. I really am about to lose my mind. Just now, Aiko's most hated rival sent me a threatening text. "Last night you got drunk and took advantage of me all over, and today you're planning to take her abroad with you. Are you messing with me?" Then she added, "It looks like I'll have to pay a visit to your parents to discuss how you play around and then abandon girls." Oh, almost forgot. May is not a casual girl. Chapter 1. My dad has a saying that's very popular among the wealthy. Out of 10 women, 9 know how to PUA. A wife must be raised from childhood. He and my mom were childhood sweethearts. From a young age, he noticed her beauty and character and pursued her relentlessly. In the end, with the support of a virtuous wife, my dad climbed his way to success, became a first-generation entrepreneur, and gave my mom the wedding of the century. Their assets, movable and immovable, are simply countless. With his arm around my mom's shoulders, my dad warned me, "Puppy love isn't a problem, but if you dare be a simp, I'll break your legs." I almost cried. Easy for him to say. TV dramas and novels are full of sweet childhood romances. My life is full of toxic women and gold diggers. Not a single one of the rich daughters I grew up with has a normal mind. Watching all this just leaves me speechless. Then a light bulb went off in my head. I'd infiltrate their circle and filter them in reverse. I picked the dumbest, which among these childhood friends was Aiko, and I followed her around like a shadow from elementary school all the way to high school. She said east, I'd never go west. I simped hard. Everyone thought I saw her as my future wife. Aiko always looked both annoyed and smug. She said, "Kenji, you're a good guy, but you're not my type." Every time I'd nod, pretend to be disappointed, and walk away alone. That's when Aiko's friends, who secretly gossiped about me being a disgusting simp, would send me messages saying, "You're such a good person, why cling to one tree and give up the whole forest?" I laughed. If Aiko was a witch, weren't her friends the same? All I had to do was use her as the center, draw a circle with her little clique as the radius, and avoid anyone close to her. Instead, those who annoyed Aiko were my potential targets. Very luckily, Aiko met the rival she hated most in 17 years, the school beauty May. She had the looks of an untouchable flower on a high mountain. Though her family background was ordinary, she collected scholarships from every competition with ease. What bothered Aiko most was that May was childhood friends with Hiroshi, a poor but handsome and hardworking guy. He was aloof toward her, which made him stand out in Aiko's eyes as a refreshing presence. So she started approaching Hiroshi first. She didn't care about my feelings, and worse, to stop Hiroshi and May from getting closer, she egged me on to pursue May. My eyes instantly lit up. Just what I wanted. Chapter 2. I had been observing May for a while. She was tall, with a slim waist and long legs. During the school performance, when the hem of her dress lifted slightly, it revealed her slender, fair legs, like melting snow in early spring. Most of the time, she was quietly working on problems, her long lashes trembling as those peach blossom eyes focused with intensity. Whenever she sank into thought, her cheeks would quietly flush with a rosy tint, like dusk softly staining the sky. As for the character traits I valued most, I couldn't tell much yet. So I went to Hiroshi. He thought I had come to cause trouble and immediately clarified, "I have nothing to do with Aiko." I chuckled and said, "I want to pursue May. I came to ask you about her." Hiroshi narrowed his shrewd eyes slightly and tried to brush me off. "That's not really appropriate, is it?" I immediately handed him a thick envelope. I said, "Payment." His attitude changed instantly. "I'll tell you everything I know. Even if you want to know the color of her underwear, I can climb up to her balcony." I was speechless. Case closed. He was a money grubber. Childhood friendship was just something he'd sell out for cash. Hiroshi told me that although May was cold toward people, she loved small animals. She often went to feed the stray cats in the woods behind the school. Looking at May's overall outstanding qualities, I was very satisfied. The next day, I brought cat food and coincidentally ran into her at the back mountain. She was half squatting, absent-mindedly stroking a fat orange cat that purred in comfort. Sunlight filtered through the trees and fell across her delicate, bright profile. I could almost smell a lingering and enchanting scent of jasmine. I smiled and greeted her. What a coincidence, May. She didn't even bother to lift her head. Her voice was indifferent. Not a coincidence. I saw you with Hiroshi earlier. Don't drag him into your messy love games. I was stunned for a moment and asked, You like him too? May lifted her eyelids coldly and said, Then your so-called liking is shallow indeed. Instead of getting angry, I was even more satisfied. The more unreachable a woman appeared, the softer her heart must be inside. I crouched down too, reaching to pet the cat. My fingers brushed hers as she quickly pulled her hand back. May's brows knit slightly, her beautiful eyes showing a trace of displeasure. I looked back at her and said word by word, I went to him because I want to pursue you. May's gaze grew colder. She was smart, instantly understanding all the twists and turns behind it. With an icy detachment, she said, Sorry, but I have no time to play your games. Chapter 3. Even if she didn't believe me, I really wasn't playing around. After that, whenever May lifted her eyes, she would always see my smiling face. There's an old saying, you don't hit someone who's smiling. When her patience was about to run out, I launched the second phase. I seized every chance to get closer to her, showing eagerness and attentiveness. During another accidental encounter, the moment she saw me, she stood up to leave, but by chance a calico cat tripped her. She was about to fall right into my arms. How could I miss such a heaven-sent opportunity? I immediately spread my arms wide, ready to catch her, but at that very moment she instinctively swerved to the side to avoid me and ended up falling hard to the ground. I watched helplessly as she tumbled into the grass, her elbows scraping against the ground until the skin broke. Our eyes met, hers glaring at me, filled with a resentful sharpness. I quickly crouched down and said, Did that hurt? Don't cry. I'll carry you to the infirmary right now. The moment May heard this, she bit her lip and stood up immediately. She said, No need, I'm fine. But her swollen, reddened knees betrayed her stubbornness. In the end, she wrapped her arms around my neck and obediently let me carry her on my back. My face lit up with joy as I whispered, May, you're really light. Her body trembled, her breath brushing against my ear as she softly hissed, Shut up. She was probably embarrassed. Her voice came out a bit sharp and her cheeks flushed red. Chapter 4. I told May that my name would move closer to her step by step, just like I was doing. She said she didn't believe it, but Hiroshi told me that May, who normally never paid attention to the rankings, stopped to look at them for the first time. Her gaze scanned from top to bottom and then lingered on the name Kenji for a long while. At the corner of her lips was a curve she herself hadn't even noticed. I was so happy that I sent Hiroshi another transfer. Hiroshi cried out that it was too much, but decided to grit his teeth and give up this year's chance of co-hosting the school anniversary with May and hand it over to me. Since May and Hiroshi were both outstanding in grades and appearance, and also neighbors who could practice easily together, the school usually let the two of them host big events. So when May saw me at Hiroshi's house, she pressed her lips together and said, As expected, it's you again. Feigning helplessness, I replied, You don't want to see me? Then I'll leave. May gave a cold snort and answered, No need. Since you're already here. Thanks to all the coincidences I had engineered, running into me had become part of her daily life. She probably didn't even realize it herself that from the initial resistance and rejection to now being used to it, she had already grown accustomed to my presence. Hiroshi stuck his head out and explained the whole situation with a laugh. After a long silence, May asked, You gave him money, didn't you? Somewhat surprised, I asked, How did you know? She said, What do you think? Rolling her eyes, she added, If it weren't for the stipend that comes with hosting, do you think you would have agreed? I teased her on purpose. So you really do know him quite well. Just as I was about to get up and leave, May leaned closer and handed me a piece of chocolate. She said softly, I spent the whole morning making this. Try it and see if it suits your taste. It was as if she was trying to say something unspoken. The corners of my lips curled up. I was in an incomparably good mood. After revising the hosting script, Hiroshi's grandmother was especially warm and insisted on keeping me for dinner. Hiroshi, looking unusually awkward, said, Grandma, They've already cooked at his house. Let him go back. A little displeased, I said, "Why are you chasing me away? I already told my parents I'd eat at a friend's place." Hiroshi's grandmother, delighted, said, "Exactly. How can you let a good friend's first visit end without sharing a meal?" I chimed in, "Exactly, exactly." I grinned as I helped set the table. Hiroshi stared at my back for a long time, dazed. The meal was warm and lively. Hiroshi's grandmother liked me a lot, constantly piling food into my bowl. When Hiroshi walked me downstairs afterward, he still seemed a little embarrassed. Scratching his head, he said, "You probably didn't like the food, right?" I answered, "It was delicious. I loved it. Next time I'll eat here again." Catching his surprised gaze, I smiled and said, "I really do want to be your friend." I continued, "My dad was poor when he was young too, so what? He still relied on himself to become a big boss. I have a good eye for people. Believe me, you and my dad are the same kind of men. You'll definitely achieve great success in the future." Before getting in the car, something occurred to me. I turned my head and said, "If Aiko starts causing trouble again, just let me know." Hiroshi smiled and replied, "All right." Chapter 5. When Aiko saw me and Mei hosting on stage together, she finally realized something was wrong. Why hadn't I been hanging around her much anymore? What had I been so busy with lately? Why was my attitude toward her getting more and more perfunctory? At that moment, all the answers became clear to her. During the entire event, that burning gaze of hers nearly pierced straight through me. After it ended, just as I was about to change clothes, Aiko yanked me into a corner. She asked, "Kinji, what's going on between you and Mei?" My temper flared up and I was about to curse at her, but I forced myself to stop. Her family planned to send her abroad after the exams. If I provoked her now, who knew what kind of tantrum she might throw? If she lost her mind and clung to me, I'd be stuck. So I decided to play it safe. I looked at her and put on the old simp act. I coaxed her. "Aiko, wasn't it you who told me to chase after Mei? Did you forget?" At that moment, a faint sound came from the doorway. The wind had blown the door open a crack. She puffed her cheeks angrily and snapped, "When did I ever?" But then she stopped, realizing it. Her rage was forced back into her chest. If she lashed out, she'd look bad. If she didn't, she'd look worse. So she could only sneer sarcastically. "Well, you really are something, aren't you?" I replied, "Of course." Unable to bring herself to take the words back, she just turned her face away, slammed the door, and stormed off. From then on, she threw herself at Hiroshi even harder, using every trick in the book, playing pitiful, acting weak, until everyone knew about it. I'd call it a performative personality. Hiroshi's repeated cold rejections only made her more obsessed. She said, "We girls are naturally drawn to strength. I like the way he treats me with indifference, not like some people, always simpering." She said it casually, but her eyes never left me. I had no time to deal with her because Mei was ignoring me. She stopped replying to my messages. Between classes, she avoided me. It lasted for half a month, as if she wanted to draw a clear line between us. I was so angry I caught a cold, took sick leave, and lay in bed at home for a week. Hiroshi sent me a text. "Are you all right? Mei's been hinting and asking about you several times." On the surface, she looks calm, but honestly, she's about to lose it. "Oh right, I had blocked her." Expressionless, I replied, "Tell her I'm about to die of illness. She'll never see me again. Don't worry." That night, there was a knock on my bedroom door. Standing outside was Mei, breathing unevenly. Ignoring her heaving chest, she raised her hand to feel my forehead, her expression tense. But when she found my face glowing with health, not the slightest hint of weakness, she grew anxious and asked, "What's wrong with you? What illness?" My throat rasped hoarsely from dryness. I sighed and said, "Lovesickness." Mei was speechless. She drew a deep breath, her dark eyes sinking even deeper. At that very moment, the sound of Aiko's footsteps echoed from the staircase. Chapter 6. I pulled Mei into the room and locked the door. She lifted her eyes to me, her gaze dim and shadowed. Biting her lip, she asked, "Am I someone you can't be seen with?" I hurried to explain, "What are you saying? Of course not. It's just, since Aiko is always picking on you, I don't want to see her at her most extreme." Aiko had even gone to Mei like some jealous wife warning a mistress, telling her not to get close to Hiroshi, but she ended up nearly choking on Mei's scornful look. As Aiko walked halfway down the hall, my mom called out to her. She said, Aiko, Kenji is already resting. Why don't you come visit another day? With disappointment in her tone, Aiko replied, Then I'll come tomorrow. As her footsteps faded, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. May stared at me for a long time, the corners of her lips curling into an arc, yet her eyes held no trace of a smile. She said, Kenji, I answered, What is it? In a cool voice, she asked, Has anyone ever told you that you're good at sweet-talking, saying whatever pleases whoever you're with? I choked for a moment before countering. Has anyone ever told you that your moods change constantly, always shifting like the weather? Just the other day she was fine, and the next she ignored me. Now she stood here as if demanding an explanation. May lowered her gaze without replying. She pressed her lips together, then quickly shifted her eyes and changed the subject. She asked, That photo on the wall, did you take it? What kind of flower is that? It's beautiful. Following her gaze, I looked over. It was a picture I had taken last year while hiking with my parents, a flower blooming on the edge of a cliff. Its scientific name, Clymides acerfolia. Proudly, I said, That's right. That's a true flower on the high mountain. May said meaningfully, I thought you would have picked it as a keepsake. I spread my hands. It's a nationally protected species. You think I'd break the law? As I studied her expression, I couldn't help but feel she was speaking with barbs today. So I responded just as pointedly. Beautiful flowers should grow freely to be admired from afar, but not plucked. But people are different. With a serious tone, I said, May, I've given you chances. If you're tired of my pursuit, you could have stayed away from me. But since you came here on your own, doesn't that show your true feelings? That you don't actually dislike my pursuit, or rather, that you also feel something for me. May suddenly yielded, throwing herself into my arms. Her light voice was tinged with grievance as she cut me off. Yes, I like you. My eyes widened, my heartbeat quickening little by little. The air stayed quiet for a long moment. Finally, I asked her, Then why did you ignore me all this time? But May deflected. I figured something out. I asked, What is it? Lifting her gaze to meet mine directly, she let out a soft hum and said, Kenji, I gave you a chance too. From now on, you won't be able to shake me off. Chapter 7. After May left, I was still a little dazed. So that's it. I've actually gotten a girlfriend. First time in love. I had no experience. All blame goes to that faint fragrance on her body. It was intoxicating. I only wanted to kiss her, but she burned the bridge after crossing it, pulled away, and told me to focus on preparing for the college entrance exam. Downright cruel. Then my dad pushed the door open, smiling with deep meaning. He said, That girl really cares about you. She ran here all the way. My eyes were full of expectation. I asked, So what do you and Mom think of her? My dad patted my shoulder, pride in his voice. Good son. You've got sharp eyes. No doubt you're my child. That's clearly a girl with both character and brains. Just now, your mom chatted with her downstairs, said she's gentle, kind, understanding, without a single flaw. You two just date properly for now. The rest can be left for later. I was speechless. I said, Oh, not at all. It's all thanks to your great teaching. Having such outstanding parents like you two, that's my blessing. He waved it off. Don't flatter me. It's mainly because you're smart. A clever kid like you choosing to be born into our family, that's our blessing. My mom knocked on the door, her voice calm, but unable to hide her smile. She teased, Enough with the corporate flattery. Come down and eat some supper. We looked at each other, smiled, and answered together, All right. Back at school, it was still intense review sessions. May and Hiroshi helped me patch up my weaknesses, and my grades improved rapidly. This left Aiko and her clique dumbfounded. But they never stopped to think my parents were top students themselves. How stupid could I possibly be? The only reason I had deliberately stayed in the middle ranks before was because I didn't want to ruin Aiko's impression of me. After all, she was the type to easily fall for someone else. And sure enough, the moment my grades rose, she was unhappy. With sarcasm in her tone, she said, You really worked hard to chase May, huh? You actually plan to stay here and go to college with her? I shot back, and why not? Aiko's face instantly darkened. She snapped, Kenji, you need to cut ties with her right now. I laughed and said, Sorry, can't do that. She was stunned, clearly not expecting my refusal. Biting her lip, she forced the words out one by one. Fine then. Don't regret it. He declared that we were no longer friends and ordered her little clique to ostracize me. I was so happy I couldn't sleep all night. Finally, an excuse to cut ties with that group. But Hiroshi wasn't so lucky. Aiko swore she'd chase him until he agreed. Hiroshi was so furious he couldn't sleep all night either. So I sent him a little compensation fee. His attitude instantly flipped, and he replied, "Another beautiful day. Thank you, Kenji, my godfather." Chapter 8. The plain yet fast-paced days passed one after another. Amidst the cicadas' chorus of midsummer, the college entrance exam finally ended. The moment I stepped out of the exam hall, my eyes immediately found May in the crowd. She was uncharacteristically nervous. "How do you feel?" she asked. Feigning mystery, I replied. "You'll only know once you fulfill your girlfriend duties." May could really get under someone's skin. Every day she was like a programmed robot, urging me to study, but she gave me no benefits at all. She even said frustrating things like, "You study for yourself, not for me." In anger, I went on strike. So she had to reluctantly agree that after the exam, I could do whatever I wanted. And so, in this moment, I handed her the bouquet I had reserved in advance. In front of everyone's shocked gaze, I calmly took her hand. She whispered, "This is the school gate. It doesn't look good." I replied, "What's the problem? The exam's over. It's not early romance anymore." Then I teased, "How about a kiss?" To my shock, May actually tilted her head up obediently. My pupils trembled. I immediately covered her mouth with my hand. I said, "There are too many people here. Besides, how could my first kiss be wasted so casually?" May seemed to awaken to some new trait. With a smile in her eyes, she said, "Then how about we go somewhere private?" Great idea. That evening, I brought her home. My parents threw me a small celebration, inviting May, Hiroshi, and a few good friends I had reverse-filtered before. Since we were all adults now, and with the grown-ups' permission, we opened a bottle of wine. Apparently, I inherited my dad's weak tolerance. Just one small glass, and I was already dizzy. The group warmed up quickly, and soon we were playing games. I transferred Hiroshi a cover fee. He counted the zeros on the screen, his eyes instantly lighting up with confidence. He declared, "Don't worry, I'll make sure no one disturbs you tonight." May was speechless. I pulled May with me, staggering through winding corridors until we reached the pavilion behind the rockery. I said, "No one's here now. Let's kiss." She kept a calm face, but her cheeks were burning red. "Kenji, you're drunk. Go back and sleep, okay?" she said. I replied, "No way." May was at a loss, afraid I might fall, yet also worried I'd caused too much noise. She could only let me hold her. The next second, I cupped her face and kissed her. Too dark. I landed on her nose. The second time, I kissed her upper lip. The third time, it was crooked again. Our breathing grew heavier. The sound of our heartbeats especially loud in the night. Then May hooked her arms around my neck, the sweet scent of soap filling the air between us. Half dazed, my hands instinctively traced up along her waist. I couldn't help but sigh. What a perfect feel. And the last thing I remembered was her slightly flustered, reproachful whisper, "Don't move around." Chapter 9. The next day was the class reunion. Several classes had booked the same restaurant on the terrace. Hiroshi leaned over and asked, "What did you do to May last night?" I've never seen her face that red before in my life. I answered honestly, "I don't know." Even though I blacked out, a strange sense of satisfaction welled up inside me. Judging by the feeling, it must have been a pretty happy night. He said, "Well, you're screwed. I'm out of here." Hiroshi broke off my train of thought. Looking up, I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Aiko, walking over in a custom-fitted evening dress. Some girl squealed, raising her phone to record. "Here she comes, here she comes." Aiko's going to confess to Hiroshi again. "Girls, do you think the couple I ship will finally get together?" But in the very next second, Hiroshi treated her like air, swiftly walking past. Aiko blocked him, snapping, "I'm giving you one last chance." Hiroshi replied, "Get lost." And surprisingly, Aiko just smiled and stepped aside. Everyone gasped, thinking she had lost her mind. But Aiko only said lightly, "There are plenty of guys chasing me. At worst, I'll just marry someone rich. Anyway, I was planning to go abroad with Kenji. This just means I can wrap up the fun and settle down." Her girlfriends, stunned at first, quickly came to a sudden realization. They congratulated me one after another for finally getting what I wanted. Even though photos of me holding hands with May at the school gate had spread everywhere, they still believed I was only doing it to provoke Aiko. After all, I had been her simp since childhood. How could I possibly be with someone else for real? Now that I had finally won her back, surely I was ecstatic. All at once, countless eyes fell on me, and I really was about to lose my mind. Just then, May sent me a message. Last night you got drunk and took full advantage of me, and today you're planning to take her abroad with you. Are you playing with me? Looks like I'll have to pay a visit to your parents and discuss how you mess around and then abandon girls. Oh right, I almost forgot. May was very traditional. She really would tattle to my parents. Chapter 10. Seeing me like this, Aiko's expression softened slightly. Though she still couldn't swallow her pride, she said, Fine, fine. Once we go abroad, you'd better treat me well. Spoil me, be tolerant of me, put me first in everything, got it? If you keep making me angry, be careful, I might really ignore you. I looked up through the noisy crowd and locked eyes with May, who leaned casually against the archway, her gaze cold and clear. Aiko frowned, displeased with being ignored. She puffed up angrily and said, Hey Kenji, I'm talking to you. I impatiently shoved her aside, snapping, Get lost. You're blocking me from looking at my girlfriend, understand? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Aiko stood frozen as she watched me walk toward May. She murmured, almost to herself, Girlfriend? I hadn't intended to respond, but from behind, she suddenly broke down and shouted, Does she even know you only pursued her because of me? May's expression didn't change in the slightest. She even raised her lips in a mocking curve, as if to say, So what? Expressionless, I turned back. I said, Aiko, you're so dumb it makes me want to suggest a brain scan to check if your cerebellum is missing. Have you ever considered the possibility that she's the complete opposite of you? And that's why I like her. She froze, realization dawning, her face instantly draining of color. She stared blankly at my back as I led May away, unable to utter a single word. In the corner, two of May's friends whispered to each other. Sophia, what did Kenji mean by that? The other snorted. It means there's absolutely no chance he'd ever like Aiko, obviously. Hey, why do you have to push me while you're talking? The first protested. Clatter. Everyone turned to look. Nearby stood a half-height clown decoration. Sophia chuckled. Oops, sorry. The clown's red nose just fell to the ground. The entire scene fell into dead silence. Chapter 11. Ever since we left, May hadn't said a word. I tested the waters. You don't really think Aiko and I teamed up to mess with you, do you? She stopped in her tracks, pinched my arm with a little force, and lowered her gaze. On the day of the school anniversary, I overheard you two in the changing room, she said. You said she was the one who told you to chase me. I thought carefully for a moment. Then I said, So that's why you were mad and ignored me. She didn't answer, which was as good as admitting it. I sighed and explained honestly. I only said that because I was afraid she'd cling to me and mess up my exam prep. So I tossed out a random excuse. You've seen it yourself. She doesn't understand human language. The more you reject her, the crazier she gets. A wise man avoids danger. Now that the exam is over, there's no need to care about her anymore. May's dark eyes stayed fixed on me. She asked, So you never plan to go abroad with her? I replied, Of course not. Afraid she wouldn't believe me, I even pulled out my phone and showed her the chat list. I already blocked her, check for yourself. May took it, but the more she scrolled, the darker her face grew. She read aloud. Maria, female, likes movies. Alicia, female, likes novels. David, male, likes law. Hiroshi, male, likes money. Cold sweat trickled down my back. They're just friends, I stammered. We only exchanged good luck messages for the exam. These were all quality connections I'd built over the years. Whenever I came across people who didn't get along with Aiko's clique, I would quietly get to know them. If I met someone struggling financially, I'd help them. If I saw someone bullied, I'd stand up for them. If someone had psychological troubles, I'd comfort them. Without realizing it, I had built up quite a sustainable network of friends. It was easy to predict they would all shine in different fields someday. May gave a cold snort. And what note did you give me then? Guiltily, I scrolled up to the pinned chat. Perfect score, crush girl. Her brows slowly relaxed, the corner of her lips just starting to curve upward when suddenly her expression froze again. A new message popped up. Kenji, do you plan to date anyone once you get into college? May let out a cold hum. You sure are popular, huh? With a stiff face, she locked my phone screen. I asked, are you mad? Rolling her eyes, she said, it's normal for people to like you. Why would I be mad? I quickly said, how about we eat anywhere you want? Your choice. I hailed a cab. May slipped her fingers naturally between mine, holding tight. She said, let's eat at your place. As your girlfriend, I need to officially visit your home. After your place, we'll go to mine. She added, at this point, you'd better give me a proper title. I was speechless. So what exactly did I do last night? Chapter 12. After I posted a group photo on WeChat of me, May, and a few good friends, they finally realized the truth. Turns out I had only ever used Aiko as a sieve to filter people. All the friends I made were those who had clashed with her before. When I was planning the graduation trip, Aiko suddenly barged into my house, eyes red, choking up. She asked, Kenji, did you ever like me? The bodyguards were about to step forward. I waved them off, smiling playfully as I said, do you think anyone in their right mind would like a girl who spreads false rumors of sexual harassment just because a teacher criticized her, and who after growing up spends her days leading campaigns at school to attack men? Tears welled in Aiko's eyes. Her voice was urgent. But I never did that to you. I sneered. You wouldn't dare. It wasn't that she hadn't tested my limits. Back in middle school, when I snapped back at her a few times, she immediately put me on the school forum. The next day, her father slapped her, her face so swollen she could barely recognize herself. From then on, Aiko understood the control had never been in her hands. But I still treated her as if nothing had happened. Gradually, Aiko fell into the delusion that I was madly in love with her. That was fine. I didn't care what she thought. I only cared about the tangible benefits she brought me. To me, Aiko's role was just like a cannon fodder villain in a novel. Whoever she disliked was bound to be a future protagonist. Even my parents would click their tongues in praise. It was a delightful surprise every time. Aiko searched my face and couldn't find a trace of insincerity. At last she lowered her head, looking so distraught she could barely stand straight. Choking on her words, she said, I'm sorry, but I really do like you. I never thought we would separate. On that once proud face, only humble pleading remained. Pitifully she said, please, give me one more chance. I'll change everything. We can go abroad and start over, okay? She tried to come closer, but the bodyguards lifted her up and dragged her away. I've always said, feeling the good about yourself is an illness. Even now she still believed I would take her abroad. She was beyond saving. Chapter 13. I overperformed and barely scraped into University B. It was close to University C where May and Hiroshi enrolled, just one street apart. I heard Aiko didn't want to go abroad, but her father forced her onto a plane and even confiscated her passport. Without me as a connection, he seemed to despise his brainless daughter more and more. It looked like he was considering permanently throwing Aiko overseas, as if deleting her and starting a new account. Tragic. But honestly, I was miserable too. College life wasn't as easy as the teachers claimed. Not only did I have to deal with an endless load of coursework, I also had to intern across different departments in the company during my free time. After all, I was the only heir to a vast family business. I was spinning like a top. After work, a sweet-looking female colleague stopped me. Kenji, do you have any plans after work? She asked. Her cheeks were slightly flushed as she stood shyly in front of me. Going along politely, I replied, I'm having dinner with my girlfriend. Normally, that would have been enough for someone to back off, but she continued, following me into the elevator. Is your girlfriend also at University B? She asked. Then, forcing a coquettish tone, she added, could I meet this sister of mine? I want to know what kind of girl dear Kenji likes. Ding. The elevator doors opened, and May was standing right outside. Wearing a simple knit dress in an academic style, she looked fresh and elegant, almost ethereal. The string of exams had left her tired, her brows furrowed, but the moment she saw me they softened instantly. With practiced ease, she slipped on purpose and fell straight into my arms. The colleague who had just wanted to meet her now froze with a stiff smile, then quickly muttered an excuse and ran away. May looked up at me. She asked, which number vixen is this? Since I joined the company, she'd already lost count. I was used to it by now. You think I'd give them a chance? I said casually, we've been together so long, and I've held back all this time. Do I look like the kind of man who can't control himself? It was true. May and I had never gone further. How to put it? I knew May valued her chastity above all else. So every time things grew intense, even when I was about to explode, I chose instead to take a cold shower. That night, under the evening breeze, I held her comfortably in my arms. Half drowsy, I suddenly heard May say, "Kenji, should you maybe see a doctor?" I was speechless. My steps halted. After a pause, I laughed and said, "May." She answered softly, "What is it?" I said. "I secured Chan's investment." Her eyes widened. As if giving a reward, she grabbed my face and kissed me hard several times. "Wow, amazing," she said. Thanks to the network I had built through filtering via ICO, the company had grown rapidly this past year, even establishing a department dedicated to large-scale AI model development, achieving impressive results. May cut into my daydreams, but don't change the subject. "I'm really thinking about your health." I sighed helplessly. Fine, I'll go see a doctor." She nodded. "Good." Chapter 14. Wake up, May. The curtains were yanked open with a swish. Hearing that familiar voice, she struggled to open her eyes and said, "Sophia, aren't you abroad? Why did you suddenly come back?" Her skin was a little tanned, but she looked more confident and composed than ever. She said, "I couldn't get used to the food overseas. I missed going shopping and having meals with you too much." That sounded convincing enough. She pulled May out of bed and even invited a professional stylist over to doll her up. Looking at her reflection in the mirror, every strand of hair carefully styled, May quickly became clear-headed. A vague premonition stirred in her mind until Sophia led her to the beach, decorated in a dreamy, romantic way. At sunset, the sky was painted with pink and orange hues, so beautiful it seemed unreal. Not far away, Hiroshi held a camera, quietly recording everything. With the sea breeze blowing, Kenji slowly walked toward her, then dropping to one knee. "May, are you ready to spend the rest of your life with me?" Inside the ring box was a diamond engagement ring he had designed himself, shaped like the letter A for May alone. Kenji thought he had hidden it well, but May had known all along, just like she had always known Kenji would be her lifelong partner. Was she ready to spend the rest of her life with him? May said, "Of course." Her answer came without hesitation. They embraced beneath the sunset. Both sets of parents looked on with relief and joy, while cheers and blessings from friends and family filled the air. There was no moment more perfect than this. Chapter 15. But there was something more. That night, May came to my room on her own. I rolled over and pinned her beneath me. I asked, "Miss May, do you know what it means to walk into the tiger's den? Do you really think I'll let you go tonight?" But she only closed her eyes and said, "Go ahead." Suspicious, I slid my hand around her waist. May's lips pressed tightly together, her posture entirely one of surrender. Something was wrong. She wasn't resisting me at all this time. I swallowed hard, strangely nervous. Just then, Hiroshi sent me the photos he had taken during the proposal. I quickly rolled off, sat up straight, and said seriously, "I need to pick out the photos. You go ahead and rest." Something was definitely off about May tonight. I had the distinct feeling that if I didn't retreat now, the consequences would be dire. But she clung to me like an octopus, repeating my own words back at me with a provocative look. "Do you really think I'll let you go tonight?" The pool's rippling reflections shimmered across the wall, and I couldn't tell whether it was the light swaying or May. Sweat poured down my face as I forced out each word. "Didn't you say you wouldn't let me off? Then why are your lips sealed so tight now?" Exhausted and overwhelmed, May nearly burst into tears. Choking back sobs, she said, "Kenji, I want to sleep." I kissed her sweat-dampened forehead and said, "No rush, it's still early." May glanced at the time, about to get angry, but I lifted her gently by the waist and asked, "Weren't you the one who told me to see a doctor?" She shook her head. "No need, no need. You're perfectly healthy." I guided her hand over my burning skin and teased with a laugh. "How can you be sure without a checkup, Dr. May?" May was speechless. Chapter 16. Married life remained calm and steady. For our honeymoon, we returned to our old school. After the college entrance exam, I had wanted to bring the fat orange cat home, but there had been too many people feeding it, and it was gone in a flash. Revisiting the place, I asked May, "Back then, when you avoided me, did you have something on your mind?" "No longer the shy girl she once was," May said slowly. "At the time I was thinking, knowing full well that your intentions weren't pure, yet still letting my heart fall for you so quickly. Wasn't that just being a hopeless romantic? She sighed and fell into my arms. She said, but the moment you carried me on your back, when my heartbeat nearly stopped, I knew then I'd already lost to you. And I was sweetly willing. She whispered, husband, I love you.